Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. If I may. This is reinvestment number 16. First item, of course, is to look at, review, and approve the minutes of our prior meeting. They are found on, I guess, red tab number 1. On page 1. And
And then next page. One more.
I move we approve.
is there a second?
Second reader.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay, we're going to recess 16 and call the Development Authority meeting together. And that will be on, first item will be to review the minutes of our last meeting, which I guess is green tab number 1. Page 1, and again, if I'd like a motion, if there are no corrections or changes that anyone has, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the minutes as they are submitted.
Got it, I got it, second.
There's a second, all in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Do we have any public? No public, okay. So John, you're up next for approval of invoices.
Okay. If you'll turn to tab 2, green tab 2, page 5. This listing of the invoices that we're asking for your approval
Can I
today.
stop for a
Yes.
second? We do have a camera mounted, it's permanent now, and we are recording, so even though you don't see our person that we had for the last couple of meetings, we are recording the session. We can go on the website.
And then we do then post them on our website. So
They're not on the channel 8 or whatever.
it's not live, it's.
Be inappropriate to say something like Gig 'em Aggies.
Okay, sorry for the interruption.
All right. Again, on page 5 is our invoices for this month. Total of $806,000. We also have contract payments that we have made for your review totaling $1,098,000, total of $1,904,000. On the following pages are a brief description of each one of those invoices as we go through. And then on page 10, and as you continue to review those invoices, I'll just give you a verbal on our MWDVE, SVE expenditures for the fiscal year 17. Our goal is 24%. For professional services, we're now at 53%. And our goal for construction is at 17, and we are at 9. And we are accelerating that as we continue with our construction of Oak Boulevard, which we are
John?
contractually meeting goals.
Do we count when we left the contract or when?
As the bills are paid. So early on in the contract with mobilization, it's primarily going to the primary contractor. So as the project is spent over time, that's where you'll get most of it. So you'll see that number has been rising for the last couple of months. I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Are there any questions on either the invoices or the MW report? And if not, I'd like to have a motion to approve as submitted. There is a motion. Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. I guess, John, the next is an update.
Okay. Number 6 is a request for a motion to authorize staff to advertise bids for the Memorial Park Eastern Glades. Is Sarah with us? She's not, okay. And I'm not sure if I have, yes. All right. Very quickly, we have been working on a development agreement with the Memorial Park Conservancy for the construction of this roadway. To give you some idea, just a moment, today the eastern road where the trail actually goes along and all the joggers are on is located in this position. The new project will move that intersection here down to this location, will be opposite the, actually the maintenance facility. And then we will, so bottom line is, then I back up and show you sort of what the finished part of that would look like. Is the new roadway here with some parking. There'll ultimately be a great deal of Memorial Park Conservancy work in the park. This is primarily the infrastructure. So we're taking care of storm drains, lighting, parking, roadway surface, and the intersection. Sarah will correct me if I do anything wrong. We do not have a definite development agreement with Memorial Park Conservancy. There's two ways this project will be implemented. They will either borrow the money and provide the funds to build this project, and then the TIRZ and you have voted, if we can execute that agreement, that we would then ultimately pay them back. You had also approved a proposal whereby we would simply do the financing, sell like bonds like we normally do, and we would build this project. But in order to do that, the city wanted to see that they were dedicated in part of helping fund this. On an annual basis, the TIRZ board gives Memorial Park Conservancy over the next 10 years $1 million a year to do ecological restoration. One thought has been that if they would give us back a portion of that, about $500,000, plus some additional savings we had by refinancing, that we will actually have the resources to go out and do that funding ourselves. And I think really both of those options are on the table. I think at the moment, after probably 2 months of consideration, they are leaning. Do you have any hot news yet?
I think the staff is wanting to secure board support for the latter option.
Whereby we would actually do the financing. They would give us back some of the funds that we're contractually obligated to them, and that we would then make them whole over the 10 years. It's a much better financial deal for them. It does show their willingness, it's sort of in the mayor's leadership role of sort of shared sacrifice to make this happen, and I think the city's willing to agree to it. Yes, sir.
John, what's our commitment, or capital commitment on this first phase?
There's two pieces. The intersection construction is about $1 million, and then I think about what's the rest of this?
The engineer's estimate of probable cost is coming in at around 6.3. I think the bids that will get advertised will call
So
it
somewhere around
$5.9,
$7.5 million total?
Yes.
And how much money will they have to give up in order for us to sell $7.5 million worth of bonds?
They'll do $500,000 is current agreement, plus about another $180,000 that we save by refinancing, that would go in to sort of provide the funds to go out and do the debt financing on that $7 million.
Will that come out of this year's funding, or will you?
It would be, we'd have the ability to start this project now, with the city acknowledging that we're going to be selling additional bonds. We must sell bonds in the first quarter of next year for Oak Boulevard, and so adding $7 million or so would be done at that time. And we have sufficient capacity, financial capacity, to probably sell upwards of 65 million.
I guess where I'm heading, John, do we take the $500,000 out of next year's $1 million funding, or this year?
It could start this year.
We're paying them on a quarterly
We're
basis.
paying them quarterly. We've recently hit that halfway mark. If this deal goes through, then we wouldn't pay anything further this year. And then next fiscal year, there would again be disbursements happening.
So right, as of this moment, they're looking at it, they're pushing it, their board has to approve it. I'd call it maybe 65-35 going to us financing.
We're prepared either way. Both things will be ready to turn on, whichever is their decision, and we are going to bid, and
And so what we're asking from
where we
you,
would like to.
last year, we actually bid this portion, this intersection. You have actually authorized us to award that. We've held it up, but due to some changes in design, but in completing the design work, but primarily because sort of the reshuffling of sort of where the the administration wanted to go. So if we walked out, if we can execute this agreement, we could begin work on this very quickly. We are asking you today to authorize us to go out and advertise for bids for this $6.5 million worth of work. We get that, all that does is allow us to get the bids in, then we bring them back to you and present them to you. And so if it takes us, if we happen not to get the agreements worked out or something else, we have plenty of opportunities to control ultimately when this contract is let. Yes, ma'am.
We're trying to get in the game here. That, on the far left, that boulevard, what is that?
That is Memorial.
Okay.
The north is to the right.
North is to the right.
Thi-
Okay.
thi- thi- This is, wait a minute, I'm gonna back up here just a second. This is the current easternmost portion of the jogging trail, this piece right in here. This is the road that you park on if you're going jogging. The new road, this all gets torn out, this will all be parked when it's all, there'll be trees and grass and the jogging trail will be extended. And
So
after
it's
this, it will be a
3
legitimate
miles.
3 miles.
Huh?
Will it still be 3 miles?
It will then be 3 miles.
It's not
Oh,
quite
it's
to
not
the
quite
left.
3 miles. Well, you can tell yourself it's 3
9.5.
miles.
When I run it, it's 3 miles.
We have a lot of catching up to do.
How many miles, 6 or 9? Don't tell him.
And so what we're asking for authority today is actually go out and seek bids, and then bring that back to you most likely in December, that we would see construction starting, notice to proceed in the first quarter of next year. By that time, all the agreements will be done. I think that all the agreements can be done in the next 14 days probably.
I think the agreements will be done before Thanksgiving, before you're asked to award.
Okay, are there any questions on this? If not, can I have a motion to take bids? Motion, second, is a second, all in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
And we're now changing it to 3 miles just for you. I like you.
It is a dot, it is a.
Yes, dots.
It's dots 3.
Okay. We're on an update.
All right, Sarah, do you want to go ahead and talk about the rest of Memorial Park projects?
Yeah, sorry,
Bring this down to.
running late. You all know we've been doing some repairs in various stages on the Bayou Bend Bridge that gets you into the Bayou Bend garden. And the most recent phase of that was replacing all of the planking and the railings with new boards and meeting all the 4-inch rules so no little people can slip through and fall into the bayou. So that work is now officially complete. The bridge has been refurbished. So you are proud partners of making that happen. And the exciting part, the
Oh my God.
drawbridge, which was not working recently, this is really how they secure the garden, is on the parking lot side. They can raise the segment when the museum is closed so that people can't come across the bridge and then scale the fences that are over
So
there.
Built them
you
up.
enter, you get there by, off Memorial, like you're going to that restaurant. There's a Bio Bend
Collection.
right at Westcott and
Mhm.
Memorial.
And
At
you
some
go back
point, you can go in there and that's how you can walk
And then you
this
park
bridge,
at Joe
unless the
Bridge.
drawbridge is up.
Unless the
How do you
drawbridge-
call the drawbridge?
It is down for the open hours of the museum, and then it's up when the museum is closed, so.
Do we have access to the key to let us in?
You know, we didn't work that into the deal, we should have,
I thought it was a zip line when I first saw it.
but kind of fun to see that
Okay.
happen. Another thing that we're doing a few meetings ago, we mentioned that we'll be looking at opportunities to find federal funds, particularly for connectivity projects within the park. So there is a call from the Houston Galveston Area Council for special districts planning studies, and we're hoping as the district to sponsor a study that would look at bike accessibility here in the district, but also in trails within the park. So that is something that we'll be submitting in November. We'll be looking at other partners to do that with, but likely we would be the sponsor and the local match. None of all know, we have Park on San Felipe and Tanglewood Park going on. At Park on San Felipe, I know it doesn't look pretty yet, but all the underground drainage is in, and we have, we transplanted 3 trees, we lost 1, we're hoping to get the other 4 moved this weekend. Now that we're sort of out of the ground, so to speak, this should start to look better and better, and we're still on track for it finishing by around Christmas, certainly by the end of the year. And for Tanglewood Park, the dog park improvements are wrapping up. They should be done, and it should be opened around Thanksgiving. We've just started on the parking lot area as of today. That will probably take until the end of the year. Yes, sir.
Is a dog park got its own name?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. We would ask the authority. Does it?
No, it's all very important.
Could it?
I don't know. I
Are you voting for Barbara
think the
Bush?
Parks Department probably has some kind of.
For donation, you can name it.
I guarantee you.
Would you like me to find out?
That'd be fun to know.
Okay, we'll find that out. So the parking lot, just getting started. We've just refurbished the fencing around the playground. So the strategy has been to keep the parts of the park open that we can. The contractor's saying they'll be done with construction by around Christmas. There may be some planting that finishes up in the new year. But that's all moving forward. Here's the strip, and they're about to repaint the fence. And this is looking at the dog park. They're regrading it and have underground drainage now, so it won't be unlikable with dogs. So they're excited about that. And that is the news on parks. Any questions?
All right. You already asked, no
Ask any
questions for you?
questions? I don't think so.
Just want to take a moment. In front of you, you'll find a book that looks like this. Bob, if you would you tell them a little bit of what that book is?
Sure.
Who wrote it and what's
Sure.
in it?
Alex Garvin's worked under 5 different mayors in New York City as a housing commissioner, planning commissioner. He's kind of the brainchild behind the Beltline of Atlanta. He helped lead the redevelopment of Lower Manhattan after 9/11. He's got, also is a professor at Yale. Anyway, he has written this book called What Makes a Great City, and in it, in the final chapter, he writes about the 5 global projects that he believes is going to help redefine public space in the 21st century. And he has projects in Paris, Toronto, other places. But the second project he has after Paris is Houston, Texas, and it is the Oak Boulevard project. So.
Let's get some excitement.
So, it starts on,
Perhaps we could give several people in our community a copy.
so on page
I'll walk over to
265.
Mr.
Especially this part where it says accommodated exponential growth.
Yes. He actually, Professor Garvin believes that when we are done with this, and he's been watching Oak Boulevard for 40 years, 40 years. And he thinks that when we're finished with this project in 10 to 15 years, as things build up and to the boulevard, that it will become not one of the, now these are his words, not mine, it will become the destination boulevard in the United States. So, congratulations.
Well, I think it's interesting is that what we have learned in working in the Uptown area, and so many of the planners and architects and engineers that we've worked with over time, always wanted to step across that private property line and tell the property owners what they should be doing. Garvin, with a background from New York City and a lot of background in planning, really used trying to do, it is all the properties working together within the public realm where we really can express the area, we can tie the area together, and he has followed this, the boulevard in the Uptown area for a long time.
And John, if you don't mind, I forgot to mention that he was in the city just 2-3 weeks ago, Kinder Institute had him come in and speak at their lecture series. He also spoke at Rice University's architectural school as well as U of H's architectural school.
And there is a copy of a Houston Chronicle article that was in their Zest, I believe. So it's been well received, and it's one of those things that he has been following this area long before there was an Uptown Houston or a Oak Boulevard project. It's not someone we created, it's someone that's been doing that. So we're proud of what he calls out. Hope you'll like the comparisons. I want to give you a brief overview. We'll talk about real estate later in terms of acquisition, but I want to give you sort of brief overview. Last week, we had the opportunity to attend a meeting whereby we were invited, Texas Department of Transportation was invited, Metro was invited, and the City of Houston's Public Works Department, their Planning Department, and really the TIRZ portion of the government all got together, talked about how can we better coordinate this project. It's very interesting that you are the catalyst for this project, but we are not the authority or the controlling mechanism on very much of it. The City of Houston controls Post Oak Boulevard. The portion on on the West Loop that's being constructed, TxDOT is designing it, TxDOT will be building it, you are participating in the funding of it. But also down south, I'll show that in just a minute, TxDOT is responsible for really a big portion of this. So it was important to get us all together. The mayor joined us in the meeting, and I think he had some good questions, asked about how construction was going, particularly asked how businesses were accepting it, what were we hearing. And it's interesting that we have really, one of the things we're doing is that we're trying to balance our impact during the day on traffic and the impact on residents in the evening. And we haven't been perfect about that, but we've learned a lot. I think we're sort of in the sweet spot now. We're starting as early as we can. They have to be out of the way by 4 o'clock for the afternoon peak period. We try to do as little construction activity as night as possible. I will tell you though, there are a lot of people that are out doing work that are not us. You'll see the gas company, the electrical company, fiber companies out working and sometimes causing some of the problems. But just to give you a quick summary, we were needed to acquire 36 parcels along Post Oak Boulevard. We have 31 of them that we've agreed to terms or closed on. And I have, one is today you'll be joining this group. We're at 90%. We have 2 properties here that the city has taken over the acquisition process and are actually being condemned. Stephen, again, publicly, what's appropriate?
We can say that those are Cosmopolitan and Prosperity Bank. And in the case of Cosmopolitan, the special commissioners have been appointed, and soon the city will be hearing when the hearing date is. And in the case of Prosperity, special commissioners haven't been appointed yet, but should be in the next week or so.
Okay. And so that leaves 2 that are just very complicated that we're working on, that we are having very positive discussions and we're working with them. And we think we'll get that worked out. And that leaves probably one additional one that will actually, we have been very successful in getting them to the table to negotiate. But
we can discuss that in executive session.
But we have made great progress to say that we're at 90%. I'm proud of the work that Matt and Stephen and all the attorneys have done. In terms of construction, you have heard this before, I'll say it again, but in presenting this to the mayor, it's important to let him know that in a downtown situation, if you're building on one street, you can easily deter traffic to the other streets. But in Uptown, we really don't have alternatives to Post Oak Boulevard. So what we're having to do is to take the right-of-way we currently have and improve that by taking out the median, and we can use it for temporary roadway, and then we can use the additional right-of-way that we're acquiring. So we can move traffic onto the medians and build 3 new lanes southbound. We can flip them over, put the northbound traffic over, and this is a verbal description of what's actually happening out there. We've taken the trees out of the median, we cleared the median, we have now paved that, and we are having to take our rings and our signal poles down. We go to temporary poles. If you, next time you drive through Uptown Park, Post Oak Boulevard intersection, you'll see wooden poles with lights hanging from cables like they were a few years ago. And so we are taking these down, we're refurbishing them, we're going to LED lighting and becoming more efficient with our rings, and we'll then bring them back in as construction is completed. We have really thought over the last few years that we'd build this in 3 segments. Obviously, the first segment is north of San Felipe, and we'll talk about its particular schedule here in just a moment. But then we would be building 2 more segments south of San Felipe. Robert is beginning to fully consider the idea of bidding everything south of San Felipe as one bid, make coordination a little bit better, a little bit easier. The real question is, can we get competitive bids? If we were to go out and bid this as one bid and we don't get good competitive bids, we could always go back out, break it into 2 pieces where it would a lot more contractors be able to deal with it. We think that we are certainly leaning towards coming to you in the next month, I believe, to ask for your authority to bid this, and it will probably be bid as one package. So here we are. We have a median today with our left-hand turn. We tear that median out. We pave it over, and then we put traffic on it. We have 2 lanes in each direction. We have our left-hand turns at signalized intersections, and we're able to build our utilities and our new 3 lanes on Post Oak Boulevard as well as the sidewalks. We then move that over and operate on the southbound side, build a northbound side. Once that's done, we can then open up the 3 lanes in each direction and begin working on that 46 feet that is the dedicated bus lanes and those medians. And we want to get to this condition as quick as we can, the 3 lanes in each direction, and we can take our time a little bit more as we build that center median. This is a photograph from last week showing the 2 lanes in each direction and a great deal of construction going on. We're actually laying storm drains in this section. You can tell here from this overview where during the daytime where we have trucks coming in and out, we may be down to 1 lane in the construction zone. We monitor that very closely, and we really haven't seen significant backups for that. Then we always, by 4 o'clock, are back to 2 lanes in each direction. We're also going to be lengthening the arches to span the new Post Oak Boulevard, and so we're putting in new foundations on each side. This is the first one up at 4 Oaks Place. We have the piers poured, and we have the stainless steel extensions are on site, have been delivered, and we think before the 15th of November we will have those arches in place. And I tell a real quick story. The first time we lifted our first ring into place way back in the early 90s, the public relations staff wanted to have the TV cameras come out, newspapers come out as we lifted this ring, which had never been lifted before, and I suggested that why don't we just do it and call them, let them know when it's over with. And it's a little bit about this, is that we've got a great plan. The city's fully aware and involved, but we want to see if we can pull this off, see how it works. On our first one, we'll have 5 more to do, but we're ready to go and making good progress. Robert, want to add anything to that?
No, yes.
You don't. But Robert's assured us that my good buddy Robert. Darn, I miss you, Robert. North segment, real quickly, southbound. We should have the 3-lane southbound finished by spring of 2017. We'll then have the northbound lanes, northbound lanes completed by November, fall of next year, and then we'll begin working on that centerpiece, that 46 feet in the middle. Then the pieces to the south here, beginning after Super Bowl and being completed by late 2018.
Would those dates change, John,
if it's being built out, bid out as one, would those dates change at all, or? do
It
you-
might help us meet those dates even better. Robert, isn't that kind of the feeling?
It could advance the dates, but that would be up to the contractor if he's got the resources to handle it.
Absolutely, okay.
Then, this is just an enormous project that's going to go on. It's gonna be the first contract award is gonna be let in August of next year. TxDOT is going to reconstruct the US 59, or now is it I-69, the West Loop interchange, including rebuilding the main lanes of the West Loop bridges going over 59. But as you can see, literally the entire interchange will be redone, better geometrics, less weaving. For example, one of the things, a real nice piece of this is that if you're driving from inside the loop going outside the loop, and you want to get off at Chimney Rock, you will actually exit the main lanes of the freeway before you get to the West Loop. And that will allow you to be over on the right-hand side so that when the West Loop traffic comes in, you don't have to fight with each other. That merging has been separated. They're also building direct connectors that are going from the West Loop or from Westheimer entrance ramp. You will go to a specific ramp if you want to go outbound, or that you want to go inbound, or if you want to go up and over 610. So all of the fighting you do if you get on there and you want to go into downtown and you have to cross at least one and sometimes two lanes, that's going to improve the efficiency of that interchange of getting people through. They're also adding a new ramp outbound, and that new ramp causes Post Oak Boulevard at Richmond to be pushed about 45 feet to the west. And because of that, that portion of the Post Oak Boulevard project will be built by TxDOT. Our 60% design drawings that we have developed is in that package right now, is being reviewed by all agencies. And then in addition, the T-ramp that goes from the busway that's in the freeway right-of-way that connects to our transit center will also be built by TxDOT. Our grant that we received of $7 million will cover most of that cost, and then our local share would be the rest of that. We won't know the absolute cost on this until it's actually bid. This is the portion they will be building, and then here is the T-ramp that will come off of the bus lanes that are on the in the median of the Southwest Freeway, in the median here, that step over and go underneath 610. We'll tie into them at that point and tie right into, I believe that the buses that are on the Southwest Freeway that are coming in will actually be at the 3rd level, and our buses that go to Post Oak Boulevard will be on the 1st level with parking in between. Yes, ma'am.
So I assume that what's good about them being, about this being under them is maybe cost, but I worry about the management of the construction, because I trust you more than I do them. I'm in the room,
I understand, and we're gonna hold hands. One, it's their right of way, and so there's really, I wouldn't wanna be in their right of way obeying their rules, and so we're gonna work closely with them and make sure. The nice thing is that I think that we will probably control back of curve. Once it crosses Richmond, you're basically in the freeway right of way. So I'm comfortable that if the fit and finish isn't quite what we're achieving on the rest of Post Oak Boulevard, all the way down to Richmond, I think we can probably deliver a very nice product.
And when did you say that would be?
August of 17 is my understanding, is the date they're gonna award the contract. Mr. Chair?
Did this have a favorable impact on our budget? Did some of the costs shift their way, or?
I don't think that other than efficiencies of them bidding a bigger project and us being a small piece of a big project, I don't think that they didn't necessarily bring money to the table, I don't think, Mr.
There's
Todd.
definitely gonna be savings as part of a bigger contract. It'll be $1 billion contract. But at the same time, TxDOT likes to take a little off the top to manage your know how much they're going to take off to manage it versus how much savings there is. So the bottom line of what we have is what our estimate is at this point would be as if we were going to do it ourselves. Hopefully we will see any savings, but can't tell until the final bill comes in from TxDOT.
The good
Is
news
that-
is,
are
they're buying the right of way.
Are they, presenting a schedule that's fairly tight yet?
They went with they had designed all the connecting ramps. That was their project. But the state legislatures came in with new funding. They added the interchange and made the declaration that they're gonna do one large project. And that was only a year ago. And as of last week, they submitted 50% plans for review. By January, they're gonna have 90% plans in, and they're gonna go through their award process and get a contractor on board before, by August, for August letting. And in that, we've told them from the beginning, we'd like our pieces to be part of the early work. And they've responded that they could do that. So part of it, when they close, they have to close the toll road, the inbound toll road, to do hang certain fence over the toll road. That's the time they do our piece too, when we're hanging it, so we could all get benefits of the traffic control and the larger contract to do it. But the end part, we don't have a unique schedule right now. It'll be developed as part of the 90% of when our part's gonna be completed.
Are they gonna have what?
They're adding lanes in the connecting ramps. They're not adding lanes in the overpass that they're gonna construct, but they also are looking at that express lane, which isn't part of this project from I-10 down. That would add lanes.
If you wanna add to your consternation, is that TxDOT will also be responsible for building the busway from Oak Boulevard to I-10. And that's letting about the same time.
Correct.
And so, the very best we can do is to be part of the team, hold hands and work very closely with them. And we'll know more as they know more.
Is it more likely that we'll be pushing hard to keep up with them, or more likely that they'll have to push hard to keep up with us?
If they
schedule, timing, completion.
award in the fall of 18, Robert will have his 6 lanes, Oak Boulevard completed, and hopefully his 46-foot median completed, maybe a little bit early. But if there's any slack at all, I mean, we can operate on the frontage road with the buses, but it's gonna be right at the end of the first quarter, somewhere around the second quarter of probably 19, before everything is, we're complete, fourth quarter of 18. There may be 3 to 4 months more, and again,
Highly likely by 2020, this is all done.
highly likely by the end of 19, it's all done, and maybe as early as the middle part of 19.
It's a whole day.
So,
All right.
is there a whole day difference between the 31st and the 1st? All right, but I mean, that's, so you can then kind of understand why we're all down at the city, meeting every 2 weeks in a handholding session, reviewing things like, when we come up and under 59, and we're at the intersection of West Park, how does that intersection work with our BRT buses? How does the north end work? There's a lot of things yet to be worked out as we're under construction. I think, I'll just point out one thing, this is the transit center, talked about earlier. We are out, we have made an offer on this green property here. We're still negotiating this, excuse me, not this green, this white portion of the private property. This blue portion is some right-of-way that Metro had, and Metro's dedicating that to this project, and so that we'll have a single parcel for this project. That's a very brief update of what's going on.
Sorry, one last quick question. You know the quiet lanes they
Yes.
have to our north where they've grooved the pavement and it's really done a lot for noise? Do we get the same thing maybe?
I think that is an experiment, but I think it's been highly successful. I think it's likely.
It's wonderful. If anybody's noticed,
Yep.
roll down your window
Are you
when you're
aware of it?
driving.
when you go north of I-10 to around the North Loop,
Say TC Tester.
yeah, the pavement is grooved in just a straight line, and it reduces the amount of noise significantly.
Yeah, your wheel noise is eliminated. It's
It
amazing.
just goes
And
from
it feels
there.
better, I don't know why it feels.
So they're like grooves in it or
They
something?
Well, all-
they groove the pavement differently, and so your tire noise
Goes down.
disappears.
Oh,
It's really amazing.
Can't you go from I-10 to 610?
You know,
If you take the loop north from here,
Northeast.
you'll experience it.
As you come over Interstate 10, when you hit that portion, you'll start seeing the grooved pavement. They took the concrete and they grooved it, just long lines, all the way around to almost TC Jester. And that area, that you'll see noise significantly reduced, car noise from the tires.
Kendall, I thought it was totally immature of you to say something about the Aggies earlier, but I do believe the new grinding was a product of research at Texas A&M Transportation Institute, and we're benefiting from their helping of mankind.
So thank you.
Okay, we're going into executive session.
Okay.
Okay, folks, page 17 is the resolution authorizing the right-of-way acquisition.
If you will, look at page 2, Stephen, do you need to, on page 18?
It's tab 5, page
Yeah,
17 or
and you
18.
have the parcel number that we just discussed called out in here, and the maximum dollar amount. There's one parcel, the one we discussed in the executive session.
So could I have a motion to approve the resolution as submitted?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so moved. I guess that's it. Motion to adjourn.